Hi everyone, welcome back. White Knight's watercolour review for you this time. You probably saw me mention these in my watercolour supplies video, the White Knight's whole pans. I'll start by saying if you're planning on buying a set of these online without actually seeing them in the shop, I'll just point this out first so that there's no disappointments or anything. This is a Winsor & Newton regular sized whole pan, and this is the White Knight's one. Straight away you can see, well actually it can be deceiving because the way the White Knights fill their pan up, they actually spill the paint over the edge, so you don't actually see any of the white edge. But if I put them back to back, you can start to see the difference there. The White Knight's pan is actually smaller than the regular one. Okay, it's exactly the same dimensions in every other way, with its width and its height and everything. It's exactly the same. The only other difference is, I'll just try and hold these properly or you're not going to see this. I could sort of tilt this. Hang on. If I do it like that. I don't know if you can see that the Winsor & Newton pan is kind of bulging at the top. They've really kind of filled that up well above the line of the plastic pan. Whereas the White Knight's is actually convex. It kind of dips in a little bit. So straight off the bat you get in a whole lot less paint. In fact, that's probably more like a 3/4 pan in comparison to a regular full pan. But I wouldn't let that put you off, because they are such incredible value and very strongly pigmented that I didn't really find it an issue at all. I can't believe the quality of the paint and just how strong they are. It kind of makes up for you know, the lack of size there. So, but just be mindful of that if you're actually buying a set of these online without seeing them. You might be expecting one of those to come, but they are actually smaller. Right, okay. So I've recently bought a set of 12 tube colours. Slightly different palette to what actually came with the whole pans. Now, the unfortunate thing about these is you can't actually get them in England. I don't know about the US, but there's no websites or any shops that I found in England that actually sell these. I had to actually get these on eBay. There's a Russian seller on eBay. He sells both in the UK and in the United States, and that was the only place I could actually get the tube colours from. So there's some shipping costs involved. But that's not bad news, because these, for the 12 tubes, which are 10mm tubes, they cost £14 plus £6 shipping, and they arrived in like 11 days or something, so I didn't have to wait that long. But £14 plus shipping is £20. Now, I noticed several days after I bought these, the seller actually reduced the price down to £8, which made the actual total cost of them £14 in total with the shipping. So I've now based my prices on that, and I worked out that these 10mm tubes actually cost £1.17 each, compared to a 5mm artist quality tube from, I'm not going to mention brand names, but from another big paint manufacturer. They're 5mm tubes for like a series 4, you know, top end of the range artist quality. Their series 4 are sort of like £6, recommended retail price of like £8.80. So when you're looking at twice the quantity with a price difference of £1.17 compared to £5.87, it's just incredible value. It really is. And the price of the whole pans, I'll call them whole pans, although they're 3/4 pans, but I'll call them whole pans. The price of these on the English website, they come in sort of two series. They're called series. That's not right, is it? Two series. Series B and Series A. The Series B are the cheaper, and they're £1.35 each. The Series A are £1.50 each. And then if you're feeling fancy, they do two extra colours, two metallic colours, which are £2.40 each. Not really my thing, but you might like that type of thing for experimenting with. But just the regular colours, you know, the dearest is £1.50, and when I compare that to again, another top manufacturer's artist quality paint, a whole pan will cost you £8.20 compared to £1.50. Again, it's a phenomenal saving, isn't it? So you're probably thinking, okay, well, what's the catch? And that's exactly what I thought, because it seems too good to be true. And when something's like that, it usually is, isn't it? But I honestly cannot find a catch with these. I've researched them online, I've been on the Russian website, the English website, I've been reading reviews about them, and I cannot find anybody that says anything bad about them. There was just one issue on one of the shop websites, you know, where you can leave a review once you've bought one of their products. A couple of people said that they had an issue with the pans, that they were finding air bubbles in some of the pans. Not everybody was saying this, just one or two people. So I looked, and I did actually notice, I don't know if you can even pick this up in the light, there is a few here and there, just little sort of tiny pinhead size air bubbles, and I thought, well, that's nothing, that doesn't bother me. But one person actually said that they had a problem that was that bad that in one of the pans, actually half the pan was an air bubble, which isn't very good, but I've certainly not experienced anything like that. And these little pinhead air bubbles, which I can see on the surface, not all of them, just the odd one, it might be a case of when you're actually mixing the paint with your brush and some water, they get very creamy very quickly. And as you're mixing with the brush, you're probably trapping air in there. And then when that dries out, it's probably forming these little air bubbles on top. I don't know, that's just my guess. I mean, the only true way of knowing is to probably cut a pan in half and have a look to see if the air bubbles go all the way through. But I've not found that a problem. You know, even at those prices, if you're getting a few air bubbles, it's still incredible value. Right, now, so I've got a list at the side of me. I keep referring to it just to see where I am. Right, now with the 12 colours that you get with the tubes, that's all they do in the colour range, just 12. I haven't seen anywhere else that you can buy a selection larger than 12. But with the whole pans, they come in 56 colours in total, and obviously you can buy them in sets of 12, 24, 36, etc. So you've got a good choice of colours there. Now, light fastness, they come in 3 ratings, 3-star ratings. 3 stars being the best, down to 1 star being the least. I've got to say it's a mixed bag. I went onto the website and excuse me, you know, most of them, a lot of them are sort of 3 stars, you know, with varying 2-star, 1-star ratings on others, which is kind of run-of-the-mill for all paint manufacturers paint really, so it's no, you know, no big shocks or surprises there. You know, they claim that, you know, most of them are light fast, which, you know, seems to be fairly true. But one thing I found, well, or should I say one thing I didn't find, was information about the toxicity of the paints. Now, I know that all artist quality paints are toxic, you know, they've got cadmium, zincs, cobalts, all those kind of things in them, because they're actually using real pigments. And I've checked, White Knights are using real pigments. So obviously they're toxic, but there's no information about that on their website, so, you know, just treat them the same as your usual artist quality paints. Right, so when I first actually moisten the paints, the first thing you actually notice is just how strong they are and how easy they dissolve, and they get creamy very, very quickly. And as soon as you start painting with them, they're a joy to use. The colours are just so strong and so vibrant. And the same with the tubes as well. You know, there's no sort of big differences in the quality of the pigment with either or. But I have noticed, how can I say, well, one of my viewers wrote in on my watercolour supplies video and said that she bought some, she really likes them, but they just seem to behave differently. I couldn't have said it better myself. I find them to be very strange in the way they handle, and the consistency of some of the paints. It's not just like one thing you can put your finger on and say that's what it is. It's kind of lots of little things there, which all kind of add to their personality and charm, really. It's not a fault with them, it's actually quite a positive, because I noticed that when I was painting with them, I sort of went at my painting with my usual mindset of, you know, painting watercolours, but as soon as I started, my mindset actually shifted into more of an experimental mode, thinking, I wonder if I use that colour stronger, or if I mixed it with that, or if I use that dry. You know, your mind starts thinking differently, because they're not like anything else you've used before. You know, you might hate that, you might, you know, want to, you know, use paints that you're used to. But I actually like it. I actually like the quirkiness of these paints. And when I say quirkiness, I mean, it's not a negative thing. There's just a few sort of peculiarities with some of the paints, with the names, for example, which is obviously nothing to do with how they perform. Like, for example, the White Knight's Emerald Green is exactly the same as the Winsor & Newton, let me bring that in the frame, the Winsor & Newton Viridian. So that's White Knight's down that side, that's Winsor & Newton on that side. The red ochre in the tube range is exactly the same as the burnt sienna in the Winsor & Newton range, just that they call it a different name. One of the big differences is the yellow ochre. The White Knight's one is a lot lighter, and strangely it has less pigment, which is unusual, because generally across the board they're much more highly pigmented than anything I've ever used. But the yellow ochre for some reason is very underpigmented, which is strange because it's only an earth colour. It's a, you know, a very cheap pigment to produce, so you would have thought they'd have loaded the pigments in there to make it stronger. Like Winsor & Newton did with their yellow ochre. I mean, that's a very sort of strong, opaque colour, very highly pigmented. But for some reason this yellow ochre, it's very smooth, very creamy, and it gives a lovely glow in light washes at the bottom areas of skies and things like that. So that's kind of rocking my world at the minute. I'm really enjoying using that. And one of the other differences, the umber. The Winsor & Newton raw umber, as you know, is sort of a nice sort of orangey brown colour. And the umber in the White Knights is a very sort of grey-brown colour. That's very much similar to the De La Rowney watercolour, if you've ever used that. Very similar colour. So there's a few sort of, you know, name changes and slight variations in some of the pigments compared to regular paints. Okay, let's just talk about some of the actual colours themselves for a moment. I'll try and get that in the frame like that, okay. So there's 12, 13, 14, 15 colours here. I know there are two sets of 12 there, but I've got 3 different colours in the tube set compared to the pan, so that's what those 3 are there, okay. You can see straight away that they are lovely, strong, rich, vibrant colours. But you can also see that there's a little bit of granulation with some of the pigments, which, you know, other manufacturers' paints have as well. But I noticed, I mean, the yellows, I don't know if I can pick up on camera, they're actually lovely, strong, vibrant yellows, cadmium lemon and cadmium yellow medium. And they work great when you put them just on plain white paper. But as soon as you actually start going over a darker colour with them, or mixing them with a green or something like that, or a blue to make green, everything goes opaque. These are very, very opaque colours. I know that in the artist quality range other cadmium yellows are opaque as well, but these I found were almost sort of bordering on gouache, to be honest. Now that didn't put me off, because I'm not too worried about opaque paints. If you can sort of adapt them into your technique, you can actually use them to your advantage. But I know a lot of people prefer, you know, the more transparent colours, which I generally do, but I've not got anything against the opaque colours as well. And it was those that were making me think differently. I've done several doodles and paintings with them, and I actually started putting yellow, just neat yellow, on the tips of leaves and things on trees just for highlights, and it really works well. So, you know, all's not lost that it's that opaque. You just have to kind of be careful when you're mixing. And that's another thing, when you're actually mixing these colours, they're kind of hard to get used to. They take a little bit of work because they're so strong. You just have to touch your brush in the colour, and then when you put it in the mix, it just sends that whole mix, you know, the same colour. So you go back to, like say for example, you just put blue into red to make purple, and it's all just gone blue. You go back into the red to try and make it purple, and it just goes all red again. The colours really are, you know, fighting against each other. They're really strong. So that kind of takes some getting used to be careful with you mixing colours. Some of the colours I don't actually like, but that's just my personal choice. There's nothing wrong with the paint. Like with the first 12 colours here, those and those, that was what came with the pan set. I don't actually like the cadmium red light or the carmine. They'd be more suited for sort of floral painting and things like that. But with the tube paints I got red ochre and scarlet light, which are a lot better. I mean, that's basically raw sienna, and that's sort of more or less cadmium red medium or something, I'd guess at. And sepia, which is always useful, nice colour for landscapes. But again, this is just, you know, my personal choice. You know, we're all going to differ on that, aren't we? But one of the things you'll notice with the umber and the burnt umber, they dry quite streaky and granulated as well. Wasn't too keen on that, to be honest, but when it's mixed with other colours, that kind of gets lost, so, you know, it doesn't become such an issue. But again, it's like I say, these are very strange paints to use. You really have to sort of buy a set to understand what I mean. It's hard to explain even once you've used them. They just sort of react different on the paper. Some colours really burst out, you know, on wet paper. Others really sort of take the time and stay where they are, you know, and things like that. It's very hard, you know. There's so many different things going on with these paints. It's hard to pinpoint them all. But generally, I'm very pleased with the colour saturation and the overall way they worked and performed when I painted with them. I'm very pleased with them. And this Russian green is absolutely beautiful for landscape painting. It's very similar to Hooker's green, but it's just a little bit grayer. It's like it's got a little bit of maybe burnt sienna or a touch of cadmium red in there, just to grey it off a little bit. It's somewhere in between. If you imagine there's Hooker's green light and Hooker's green dark, if you imagine that there was a Hooker's green medium with a very slight touch of burnt sienna in there, that's basically what you've got. But very, very strongly pigmented. It's absolutely lovely. Now onto the black. Now this is frightening. This is a scary colour, this black. I'm not joking. It absolutely eats your palette. It'll stain it. It's a hard colour to control. If you think black Indian ink on steroids, that's about what you've got there. Not a problem for me because I don't tend to use black too much with landscape paint, well, watercolour painting in general. I don't tend to use it, just now and again. But one of the things I use it for, I'll just bring this in, is when I've ruined a watercolour. I generally paint on the back as well, but when I've ruined a watercolour, what I like to do with all these black tubes of paint that sort of come in sets, which I never use, even the gouache and things like that, I paint completely over a ruined watercolour, completely black it out, and then I go over it with coloured pencils. It kind of saves the paper, and it, you know, gives you another chance of another picture. I don't like to buy the black sketch pads with the black paper in it, because I don't often use black paper, and when I'm sort of in the mood for that, I can always sort of paint over one of my ruined watercolours. Like this one, it's got Derwent metallic pencils. Actually, it's kind of sparkles in the light. It's quite strange, but that's what I say, you know, for getting rid of the paint that you don't use, doing these kind of things are ideal. So I'll just bring in a few more paintings as well. This is not going to be like one of my painting exhibitions or anything like that. I mean, these are bad watercolours. They're not. I've not made demos of them or anything like that. These are just sort of messing about, seeing what the paints would do. I mean, as you can see, the sky is as good as ruined. It sort of went really wrong. But with this painting, I was just throwing the colours down, really strong, really neat. It's not a pencil or wash or anything. It's pure watercolour, just to see, you know, how vibrant and how strong I could get these colours to work. I mean, it looks very unnatural. The greens and the yellows look very unnatural, I must admit, but that's not what I was trying to do. I was just trying to see how vibrant I could get the painting. And I'm really pleased with the results. And the darks that you can get are just incredible. You know, you don't really have to keep building up and building up. You can almost get them in one go. Absolutely fantastic. So I thought I'd try it with a more usual approach, like pencil and wash or something, which is what I sort of normally do. Just try and get some more sort of natural colours. I just kind of quickly painted this. It's gone a little bit murky here and there, but that's not the fault of the paint. That's more to do with me than anything else. But you can see, I don't know if you can see in the sky there, I don't know how well the colour's going to come across on the camera, but there's a lovely sunny glow at the bottom of the sky. I didn't ever get it as nice as that with the Winsor & Newton yellow ochre. This one's got a real natural sunny glow to it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And the blue, the azure blue mixed with the ultramarine gives a really gorgeous sky. It really, you know, I think it looks very, I know it's very bland and plain, but I just think the colours are very natural, very realistic. So I was really pleased with that. And because the pigments are so strong, I had a bit of problems with the pencil and wash. I really had to keep diluting them and diluting them just to get any sort of transparency to show the pencil through. But as you can see, I've actually lost a lot of the detail of the pencil in the trees. But it doesn't look bad. It's kind of a nice, soft, subtle effect to it. So I'm still getting used to it, but these are the things that I'm finding out as I'm going along. So there we go. Just looking at my list again. Oh yeah, right. Time for one of the negatives now. It's not a big issue at all, but it's just something I don't like, and that's the palette. If you buy this set, don't think that you're getting a nice palette with it or anything like that. It's not very nice at all. First off, I don't like the way the pans actually sit in the palette. They drop in like that, and these kind of slide in to either side, to that side and to that side, and there's a little stopper along the middle. But the trouble with them is they've got this plastic strip that goes across, and it hangs over quite a bit. I can't quite get a 3/4 inch flat brush in there, you know, to get paint off them, whereas you can with the Winsor & Newton range. So that was annoying me straight away. So I'm going to get another box, another palette box for these, and hopefully that should solve the, you know, that problem. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the quality of it. I mean, it's good sturdy plastic. It's not cheap plastic or anything. It feels you know, reasonable quality. But I just think it's a very bad design. This Too Well palette here, they could have given us another one. They could have given us another fold out one on that side, which would have really helped. But the palette actually kind of goes under the box there, and the paint's what's kind of running under there. And this centre divider here, it kind of tapers off. I don't know if I can actually get that in the camera. It kind of tapers off just there. So if you tip this, your washes are going to run straight over into the next one. And the same if you tip it that way, it's going to run underneath the box and get into that one. And I found that really annoying. Even when you lay this flat, it kind of lifts up a bit. If I put that on the side, it's going to be kind of hard to see. But when you lay that flat, that actually sits up a little bit, and you notice that the washes kind of run underneath the box a little bit. So it's just a bad design all round, really. But if you buy the bigger sets, they do come in different boxes, and on the English website, the English St. Petersburg website, they're actually selling metal boxes with some of the paints. So, you know, I'd definitely go for that. Oh, and another thing as well, the black pigment, I'll show you it on this palette. This is just a plain plastic palette, which I've been using for the tube paints. That's the black there. You can see it's kind of stained the palette blue, and that happened with this as well. It really stained it really badly. Some of the other colours stain a little bit, but the black, it's like I say, it'll eat holes in your palette. I've never seen a colour as strong as that ever. It's incredible, really. But this is the downside to it. It stains everything, even your brushes and things like that. It will not come out. So Maria Kellner suggested using toothpaste to get rid of it. So I tried it. It cleaned up all the other staining on the palette and most of the black. It didn't quite get rid of all of the black, but it done a brilliant job of it. So thanks very much, Maria. What I'll do, I'll put a link to Maria's website in the description below, and you can go and check her watercolours out. They're absolutely incredible. She paints cut glass, crystal glass. You look at it and you think, how is that even possible? You can't even imagine how you'd even start a painting like that. So I'll put a link down in the description to go and have a look. So thanks very much, Maria, for suggesting that, because it worked a treat. But the only thing I could find to actually get rid of the black was car polish. You know, T-cut. I don't know if you have that product in other countries. It's like a polishing compound which sort of is slightly abrasive but yet polishes at the same time. That actually did get rid of it eventually. So be prepared to have stained palettes if you're using the black, and the emerald green, that stains quite a bit as well. So apart from that, they're the only issues that I've, you know, which kind of annoy me: the palette and the fact that the black stains everything. So that's not bad really. So if we go back to the price of these, you know, the 10mm tubes, compare them to the 5mm tubes, the price of them, they work out at £1.17 a tube. I mean, for 10mm of artist quality, and they are genuine artist quality. You know, they are using the genuine pigments in there. It's absolutely incredible. Sorry about that, there was an awkward cut in the video then. My battery just went flat. Well, not my battery, it's the camera battery. I don't run on batteries. Okay, enough of the nonsense. I was just about to end the video there anyway, and I was going to end it by saying these paints are great value for the money. But sometimes you can read in between the lines with statements like that and think these paints are inferior quality, but they're cheap enough, so it's okay. I didn't sort of want to imply that, because that's not the case at all. You know, these paints are good regardless of cost. You know, the fact that they are so cheap is an added bonus and a great selling point for these paints. And not only that, they, you know, on price alone, they blow away anything out there on the market, don't they, at those sort of prices. But are they better than Winsor & Newton artist quality? Ooh, that's well, that's too subjective really to make a decision on, because these paints are so sort of individual. I mean, maybe some of these paints are better than Winsor & Newton and some of them aren't. I should say in general though, just from my experience of the 12 colours, well the 15 colours actually that I've used, I would say that in general Winsor & Newton is probably better quality. Maybe their pigments are slightly ground finer, more transparency with some of the colours. But again, that's subjective, isn't it? I mean, I don't mind opaque colours, and I know some people hate them, so you know, you sort of make your choice on that. But in general, they're far better than any student quality paint out there, and then just about as good as any artist quality paint out there. But like I say, on the price alone, it's a win-win situation, isn't it? You know, quality and price, you've got them both. If you're thinking about buying a set of these, and you don't like them, you haven't lost much, have you, at that price? You can always use these just for messing about with, or just spares or something. But I think they're way too good for that. I'm going to actually be using them alongside my Winsor & Newton paints, and yeah, and I'm really looking forward to doing more paintings with these. So to summarise, big thumbs up from me. I'm so pleased with these, highly recommend them. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I don't get any money for doing this or anything. So it's just been my honest opinion on the paints. So yeah, you know, excellent, absolutely delighted with them. So thanks very much for viewing. I hope that sort of gave you some ideas on making a decision if you want to buy them or not. But if you think I've missed anything else, anything out, just let me know in the comments section. Always happy to answer your questions. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.